Hi, everybody, and welcome to Adult Development. In Adult Development, we are going to discuss two theoretical perspectives. The first is Erikson's stages of development, which actually span from birth through the life course to death. But we're only going to focus on two of those stages, and those are stages of development in adulthood. And those stages are stage 6, intimacy versus isolation. Intimacy focuses on individuals successfully navigating this stage to be able to form an intimate, reciprocal relationship with another. In short, to find a life partner, or to find, in modern day, we, have high rates of divorce. So it may not be one life partner, it may be multiple long term relationships. The opposite end of that is isolation, and that's for people who struggle or fail to relate to create close relationships, whether it's because they have an unresolved identity crisis or because they have a fear of rejection and they don't put themselves out there. These individuals may experience isolation, and if they do fall into isolation, they tend to struggle more in the adult stages and suffer from things like anxiety and depression. However, Erikson is not the only theory on adulthood focus. There's also a theorist named Daniel Levinson. He published a famous work called The Seasons of a Man's Life, in which he presented a theory of adulthood and adult development. And in order to develop this theory, he focused on in depth interviews with men between the ages of 35 and 45. He also subsequently interviewed women as well later on down the road. According to Levinson, adults all have an image of the future that motivates them, and this is what he calls the dream. Okay. And as we progress through adult life, the dream and our career paths evolve, and then ultimately he develops what we call, or what women would call, a split dream. So men had a dream of career, whereas women had a dream of family life and career, which is their split dream. And ultimately he took this research and he created a new scheme for adult development. And it starts in early adult transition, which he argues begins between 17 and 22. And in this time, people are focused on leaving home, leaving the family they were born into, and making first choices about career and education. The next stage would be entering the adult world between 22 and 28. This is where we're committing to an occupation, we're defining our life goals, and we're finding intimate relationships. He says that the next stage begins at age 30, which is between 28 and 33. We're going to reevaluate our life choices and make modifications, or change attitude towards love or work, that maybe our original choices no longer fit, or maybe our original choices were not the best fit, or we were wrong about our choices. The next stage is settling down, which occurs between 33 and 40. This is going to be reinvesting in work and family commitments and becoming involved in the community. The next stage is the midlife transition, which occurs between the ages of 40 and 45, where we're reevaluating previous commitments, making dramatic changes if necessary. I think this is a way of saying midlife crisis, right? Giving expression to previously ignored talents or aspirations. So things you've always wanted to do, things you've always been curious about exploring, but you haven't quite done it yet because work and family and kids and marriage got in the way. And feeling more of an urgency about life and your sense of life and life's meaning. And the final stage is entering middle adulthood, which occurs between the ages of 45 and 50. And this is going to be committing to new choices that you make and placing your energy in those new commitments. So, adulthood, according to Levinson, is a period of rebuilding one's life, building and rebuilding one's life. Many of the decisions that are made in early adulthood are made before a person has had enough experience to really understand the consequences of those decisions, which is why he has so many stages that span between the ages of 17 and 50. Certainly, the career choices that we make at 18, 19, and 20 are very different than the career choices that we're going to be making at 41, 42, 43, which is why he has this wide range of stages of adult development. And the same is true for our personal decisions and what we want out of life, and how that's going to change and evolve as we get older, as we learn, as we experience what we like, what we don't, what we want, what we don't, what we thought we wanted but doesn't quite fit. And as a result, these initial decisions are often very goal driven, but as we go through the adult life course, they tend to be more experience driven. He also argued that the age of 30 is a transition. It's sort of transitional turning point, right, in adulthood development, that's sort of the dead center between the 17 to the 50. And it's where we really sort of reschedule our lives. Okay, so the future focus of early adulthood often gives way to an emphasis on what's present in midlife. And as we get into our older years, which is in the next chapter.